Hi, this is Adeep.
Hi, this is Disha, and welcome back to Roll With Us. Today we'll tell you about the accident, how it happened, what happened exactly, and the injuries which Adeep sustained because of this accident.
I want to issue a warning up front. This is going to be some amount of graphic detail. We're not posting pictures of that detail, but we'll be talking through it. So if you're uncomfortable with this kind of content, please skip it. With that, I've got my iPad here where Disha and we've scribbled up some stuff. So we have our green tea to keep us going. We suggest you grab yours and we'll try and keep it as relaxing as we possibly can.
We were in Kerala for a holiday in December 2012. It was supposed to be a 9-day vacation, and we were on our way from Thekadi to Kovalam, which is a 6-hour drive, and the accident happened on the Trivandrum highway, which is about half an hour from Kovalam.
We were in an Indica, and it was like the road was curving and it was also going up. Okay, and from the other side the road was also coming up, so it was like a hillock we were approaching. There's just a slight raise in the road, and yeah, we were on the nearly the leftmost lane, and as we were going up the hill, suddenly there was a Fabia which came from the other side on the wrong side of the road, and our driver saw them, as the hill kind of peaked, the hillock peaked, and to save us, he swerved just a little bit. Now there was the driver. I was sitting behind the driver, and then Disha was sitting, next to me, behind the sort of left passenger.
In the back seat, both of us were
Both
in
of us are in the back seat. Okay. Now, this guy. Okay. This is how the cars are approaching. They're approaching each other head on. Our driver swerved a bit, so this guy hit our front wheel, and the result of that was that the car spun 180 degrees on the road. Okay. The rear passenger door, which was my door, basically flew open, and I was flung outside. Okay, I was thrown outside from the car, and I was thrown into this rain ditch. Along the highways they have these very deep concrete rain ditches. So my back went and slammed into the concrete ditch.
As soon as the collision happened, uh, after the car swerved and stopped, I was the only one left inside the car. I was in the back seat, and it was a split second that all this happened. So the moment the car stopped, I'm wondering that where is the driver, where is Adeep? There was nobody in the car, and I was also shaken up, obviously, and I had some scratches and some bruises which started bleeding. So I got out of the door and I'm looking around that, where have these two gone? Where have these two disappeared? And the first thought that came to my mind was that, oh my God, this is a highway. And what if they've been thrown out on the road in the middle of the highway and somebody has driven over them? I mean, these were all thoughts racing through at that time. Then I saw that there was a crowd which had gathered close to that ditch, which Adeep was mentioning, and people were trying to take him out from that ditch. And at that time also he was conscious. So I thought, I obviously did not understand what has happened, the extent of what has happened. I thought, oh, okay, he's conscious, maybe he'll get up and we'll get going, and maybe we just need some bandages and some dressings,
Yeah.
and we'll be fine to go after that.
I think I asked for Disha where the crowd was standing, and I'm lying in this ditch. Everybody's standing around me. It's very, cinematic. And I'm asking where's my wife, and I think Disha came. And I think the first question I asked her was, "Are you okay?" And she said, "Yeah." And she asked me, "Am I okay?" And then I also said yes. I said, "Let me just try and get up." And I tried to get up, and I don't think I could move. And then very quickly I said, I think I'm gonna pass out because I had that feeling. And I said, I think I'm gonna need help. So, and that's just when I blacked out. And then you can tell the rest.
Yeah, he blacked out, and there was froth coming out from his mouth, and his eyes were all rolling and all. So that's when it struck me that something has happened, and which we don't understand, which I don't understand right now, but we need to rush him to the hospital. That was the first thought which came to my mind, and I started shouting. I started telling the crowd that ambulance, ambulance, call an ambulance. Somebody told me that One of them has already called, and we play there for about 10 minutes or so, 10, some 5 or 10 minutes. I don't remember the details exactly.
Yeah.
By the way, this was around 8 p.m. at night.
Yeah, so it's
It was
dark.
yeah. It's dark, and all the crowd started gathering, and so after say about 5-10 minutes, the ambulance came, and they immediately started lifting him on the stretcher and putting him inside. And in this whole process, in the whole car swerving and everything, my phone was nowhere in sight. All I grabbed was my handbag from my purse from the car, and I thought something. I just thought that I'll need money. So I just picked up my handbag and rushed with him into the ambulance. I said, I'm coming too. So Adeep, the driver, and me, we all went into the ambulance. Adeep was completely unconscious by that time. It was a good ambulance. So they put him to the oxygen. They tore open his shirt, and immediately they put some equipment on him to measure the vitals and put him on oxygen. And after that, we were just rushing to the hospital. Then again in the ambulance, there was a conversation. They told me there are 2 options. Where do you want to go? I said, I have no idea. I am new to this place. I've just come for a vacation. You tell me which is a better hospital, which will be able to look after him, which will be able to, treat him. So they said there is one Kerala Institute of Medical Sciences, which is like AIIMS in New Delhi. And the second was a medical college. I also asked them that where will he get immediate attention and treatment. So they said definitely it will be KIMS. So I said that's it, we are going to KIMS. And it took some 15 minutes. We were at the emergency. They took him in, and I said, what has happened? What is wrong with him? They said, we have no idea right now. We'll have to carry out some tests, and we need you to sign these consent forms. Since I didn't have a phone, I wanted to call back our family here in Delhi and inform them. While the emergency team was checking Adeep up. So I couldn't find my phone. Then I went to the guard of the emergency, and I told him this is what has happened. I have no phone. Fortunately, I remembered a couple of numbers. I remembered Adeep's mom's number, and I remembered my dad's number as well. I know the numbers, but at that time they weren't just coming to me, that immediately. So I took the guard's phone. I called up Adeep's mom, and I just told her this is what has happened, and I don't have my phone with me. If there is anything, this is a hospital. You can call back on the reception on this number at the emergency. And after that, the emergency staff came. They told me that basically what has happened because of this impact that he has fallen is that because of his back hitting on that ditch, there was a spine fracture. And at that time, they told me that his ribs have been fractured. Because of that, the fractured rib has punctured the lungs, and fluid has accumulated in both the lungs, and which they needed to drain out using a procedure called ICD.
So that's intercostal drainage. That basically means they'll take these pipes, they'll pierce through your skin, pierce through your lungs, okay, and then they will drain out all the fluid from the lungs. So you have 2 pumps outside, and they will essentially do the drainage process.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun. It isn't.
So I could see through the corner of my eye what they are doing, and I just couldn't see it because it was blood everywhere, and then they covered up that area. I was just waiting to hear what's next, what to do, and our parents called up on the landlines, and they told us that we have called up all our network in and around that area, around that hospital.
I just want to take a minute to go through the details of the injury. I've scribbled them down. There's a lot, so brace yourselves for this one. So as part of, so when I landed in the ditch, what happened is that as basically the ditch is cemented, and so there's a cemented wedge, and my back went and slammed in the wedge, and that's what kind of broke the system really. There was no external injury as such. There were a few scratches, but there was no bleeding externally. However, internally there was a lot. So let's just kind of go through that list. So I had 8 broken ribs, 6 on the right, 2 on the left, and then there were multiple spinal fractures. So even my spine was broken across different parts, and Then there were liver and spleen injuries too. So there were those. This already told you about the lung. So my left lung had basically collapsed. And then finally, there was the spinal cord injury, which happened at the D10 level. And basically, what that means is that, okay, the way this works is that your brain is sort of your processing center, and signals go from into the brain, okay, and that signal goes through a specific channel. The channel is your spinal cord, and
which is basically a bundle of nerves.
It's basically a bundle of nerves, and then from the spinal cord there are various offshoots, branches which go into different parts of the body, and they do two things. They either pick up external stimulus from the environment, so if you touch something and it's hot, the nerves will essentially send that signal to your brain saying, okay, that is hot. And the other thing that happens is that if you want to move a part of your body, your brain sends a signal to that part of the body, and then that signal goes to that part of the body, the nerves stimulate the muscles, and then basically your movement happens. When you injure your spinal cord, okay, then that network of signals gets damaged from the point of where you've had that injury. Okay, so mine is at the D10 level, where the spinal cord injury happened. But there are actually contusions in the spinal cord injury at D6, so it's not very clear where exactly my body function stops. It slows down at D6, and basically by D10 it's gone. There's parts of the body between D6 and D10 where I have some sensation, and some areas where I don't have sensation. But beyond like the D10 level, I don't have any sensation, I don't have any locomotion, so it's complete paralysis.
So there is no voluntary movement or sensation. So basically that is somewhere around this level, which is below chest. It's complete paralysis.
Correct. Also, I said there was no bleeding, right? But there was a lot of internal bleeding. As far as I recall, I think I had to be transfused with 18 units of
18
blood.
units, yes.
I think the human body has about 18 units of blood. So imagine having all of your blood taken out and having other people's blood put in your system.
A lot of people came forward.
A lot of people came forward to donate blood and arrange that for me. So, immense amount of gratitude to all of them, because of whom, I have blood in my body today.
Yeah, so after they did the ICD, which is in the emergency, then they said they need to now transfer him to the ICU, and they put him on ventilator immediately. And that was required because he could not breathe because of the fluid in his lungs. So that is the sight I got to see of him on that night. I asked the doctor that can I at least see him, can I at least meet him, and they said that okay, we can let you come and have a quick peek, but he's not conscious and he's on ventilator. And when I entered the ICU, I could not recognize him. I could not see where he is. He was completely, his whole body was on tubes, and ventilator tubes, feeding tubes, and I don't even know half the things that were put on him.
ICD tubes.
ICD tubes, yeah.
I was very tubular.
Which was draining the fluids out, and the feeding tube for the food, and the ventilator tube which was put in through the mouth to help him breathe.
Yeah.
And that is all I saw of him that night. And then the doctor told me that this is you can't stay in the ICU, and there's no point you sit outside, so why don't you go and get some rest. And then the doctor also checked me up because it was a trauma to both our bodies. Of course, he had a very severe injury, but for my body also I had a lot of body ache and some bruises, so he fixed that up. He put some dressing, some bandages, and gave me some painkillers. And by this time we had started receiving help from all the networks. So people came in with a phone, with some money, and they asked me that, do you want to come over to our house just to freshen up, to catch a night's sleep? I said, no, I'm not going anywhere. I will sit right here, and I didn't know where I could stay for the night, and both of us were alone because we were just traveling as a couple. We didn't have family with us, we didn't have anyone with us. So I said, I will stay right here, I'm not going anywhere. And then somebody walked in who was from around that area, another friend's friend, and they told me that there is a guest house just outside the hospital, which is actually the hospital's guest house. So they said, come, I'll take you there, and you also get some rest, and in the morning I'll bring you back here to the ICU. So with a lot of hesitation, I said, okay, let's go there. I went there. I said, I don't have any luggage because all the luggage was out on the road. So at that time, the cops also came. They asked me exactly what happened. They took down my report, and they told me that we have located the spot of the accident and we have all the luggage in our with us in our custody, and they brought the luggage to me that night. So that night in the guest house, I had my luggage, and I was just basically alone. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't do anything. I was just talking to family, just trying to tell them whatever I knew. And next morning, our family started arriving. The first ones to arrive were from Chennai because they were the closest. And by midday, rest of my family from Delhi, so Adeep's parents, my parents, everybody came. Initially, he was so critical. The doctor told me, the doctor who was looking after him, that he's very critical, and if you had come 5 minutes later in the ambulance, he would not have survived. It's God's grace that the accident happened, but it happened at such a spot where there were people around, where there was help around. A good ambulance was able to arrive in time, was able to take him to the emergency. Treatment could start. I mean, all this, if it had happened in a remote area, in Kerala, like we were in Munnar also, so there was nothing we could have done. So, I mean, whatever happens is for a reason. All this happened. It's very traumatic. It has been, in a split second, life completely went upside down. But then we also see that, what all we had, what all we still have, and we were able to reach the hospital in time and get treatment. And for the first 7 days, the doctor told us that there's nothing we can say for sure, about his recovery, about his treatment. We are not even sure if he will survive this whole accident. So they told us that we just have to wait and watch is what the doctor would tell me every time. I mean, of course, they were telling us of whatever they were discovering through the tests, but he said that we can't be sure of anything. So just stick around. And throughout the week, the whole family came in, and I think by the end of the first week, we were 12, 14 of us. So tremendous family support. I mean, I don't know what I would have done if our families were not there at that time. So
so
what happened.
I remember that. How many days was I on the ventilator? Some 2 weeks?
14 days.
2 weeks I was on ventilator. And I was unconscious as well. I had to undergo this spine surgery, and that's because I had this broken backbone and they had to stabilize it.
Yeah, so there was a spine fracture and there was a spinal cord injury. There were two things.
Yeah. So the spine fracture was the bones being broken, the spinal cord itself was getting damaged, which was the spinal cord injury, which is a neurological
condition.
Damage, condition, call it what you want. But yeah, so they had to do the surgery on me, and they could not operate until my body was stabilized. So it took about a week?
Yeah, about 8 or 10 days. 26th December the accident happened, and 4th January was the surgery. So until then they were just trying to stabilize his body enough for all the tests to be run thoroughly and for him to be able to undergo the surgery.
And I remember that in order to determine that you have a neurological condition, you need to undergo an MRI. Okay, and my body was so swollen from the injury that I was not able to get into the MRI tunnel. Okay, because I was already pretty big, I was bulky, and then I was swollen on top of that.
You were 100, must be 95 kilos.
Something
kilos,
like that, yeah.
Around
95 kgs, something like that. And it was difficult for me to even get into the MRI machine. And the doctors were saying, okay, let's not do the MRI. And then just by chance, my mom pressed some button and the thing went in. And then they were able to scan and actually discover that there's a spinal cord injury. That's when they decided to do the surgery. That was one of the only hospitals for a very long distance that had a spine surgeon that had this facility. Yeah. And then, I was saying, after 8 days they conducted the surgery, you said, yeah. The surgery was about 6 hours long, and that was also conducted with me on the ventilator. Okay, and because I was big, they had to actually put 2 operating tables together to turn me upside down to then operate on my spine. And
Yeah, we'll try to share pictures, some pictures of whatever we have. I don't have too many from back then. Yeah, it was a very very difficult period. And at the time of the surgery, I remember the whole family, 12 of us who were there at that time, we were all just sitting and praying, everyone in their own ways, and just waiting for the doctors to come out and give us some update. And of course, praying that the surgery is successful, that he survives, because till that time it was not even certain, if he's going to survive this whole treatment, this whole episode, this whole trauma.
when I woke up, I was obviously in ICU for the first time after how many ever days it was, 14 days or something. And the moment I opened my eyes, I remember, just exactly like they show in the movies, white lights on the ceiling, they start to blur, and then slowly you see a clear picture. And then a doctor walks up and he's like, hi, my name is Dr. So-and-so. This is the date today. This is the time. You are in this location. And I thought, this is a very realistic movie I'm watching. Okay? It took me a few minutes to absorb. This is not a cinema hall, damn it. This is life. And yeah, that was...
He was on morphine.
I was on copious amounts of morphine, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, that's the extent of what happened in a single crash. So I would recommend people to drive safely, drive carefully, not just for your own sake, but the sake of fellow people on the road. Wear your seat belts, follow all the signs. Kerala government, please build, dividers on your highway. I can't stress that enough.
And another thing we did find was the police found that the other car which had basically rammed into us, those guys had just rammed into us and run away. So they were not there to help us with anything. And the police also discovered some empty bottles of alcohol in that car. So I mean, we don't know if they were drunk and they were driving, because the police couldn't conduct any test.
Investigation, yeah, there was no investigation. They could
What is
conduct.
that called? The
Breathalyzer test. So if you see my pictures, and we'll try and post some on our Instagram, from that time, I actually looked very, very thin. And people would often, my family, when
After
they would come.
this treatment.
Yeah, so
there was extra.
by the end of about a month, okay, when I'm in my senses and I'm starting to do physiotherapy and still in the hospital and all this is happening, we were in the hospital for 2 months, starting to do physiotherapy, people would come and ask me, hey, how have you become so thin? And I would give them a suggestion, this stunt is performed by professionals, please don't try this at home. So yeah, that's
Humor to the rescue, always.
yeah. I think it's one of the ways we've dealt with and we continue to deal with these situations is just finding humor in whatever's happening. It's a really good way. I cope with stress very well like that. So I guess that's the story of how we landed here and the extent of what happened. We will keep sharing more from our lives as we go along. So yeah.
We hope you like this video. We hope you like this candid chat. And please like it. Please press the thumbs up if you liked it. And subscribe to our channel, because we'll be sharing more of our lives from this point on. And we are also on Instagram by the same handle.
Roll with us one.
We'll leave all the links in the description as well. If there is anything you would like us to make videos on and to cover, please comment and let us know.
And if you've suffered something similar or you just want to share your thoughts with us, please feel free to comment.
That's it for today. That's it for now.
Thank you so much for watching, and see you again.
See you in our next video.
Bye.
Bye.